Hey everyone, today's episode is about why JD Vance is having a bad time. Hey everyone, welcome to the YouTube channel for the Madness newsletter. As I said in the intro, JD Vance is having a bad time. Some of you might enjoy that, I know I do, but even for his critics, the scale of this week's collapse is pretty impressive. We aren't just talking about a bad news cycle, we're talking about a near total breakdown of the vice president's three main pillars, which are diplomacy, his alliances, and his moral standing. So all of this started on Sunday when the Iran talks failed. After a couple days of negotiations in Pakistan, Vance boarded Air Force Two on Sunday without a deal. He tried to frame it as Iran's loss, but the reality was pretty clear. The administration's tactics failed.
We have been at it now for 21 hours, and we've had a number of substantive discussions with the Iranians. That's the good news. The bad news is that we have not reached an agreement, and I think that's bad news for Iran much more than it's bad news for the United States of America.
The same day one of Vance's favorite autocrats, Viktor Orban in Hungary, lost his election. Vance had just visited Budapest to stump for him, and he called Orban's authoritarian state a blueprint for America.
But ladies and gentlemen, I'm not here primarily, Victor, because of the economic cooperation between our countries. I'm here because of the moral cooperation between our two countries. Because what the United States and Hungary together represent under Victor's leadership and under President Trump's leadership is the defense of Western civilization.
His message apparently did not resonate. Something funny that happened, I'm not a big fan of the prediction markets, but Orban's chances of winning apparently actually went down in those markets after JD Vance's visit. Voters reportedly saw the vice president's endorsement not as a sign of strength, but as a sign of foreign meddling. And this helped fuel the opposition's landslide victory. Vance said in an interview later that he was sad about Orban's loss. How unfortunate. It's one thing to lose a negotiation in private, it's another to travel across the Atlantic to endorse the person he calls the only true defender of Western civilization in Europe, and then he just gets to watch him lose. Vance is also, this week, somehow in a feud with the Pope. The conflict between the Pope and the administration started when the Pope rebuked the president's threat to end a civilization in Iran. The Pope called this morally unacceptable. The Pope later said that God does not listen to the prayers of those who wage war, but rejects them. Vance appeared on Fox News on Monday, and he said the Pope should stick to matters of morality and leave the American public policy to the president. For Vance, a high-profile Catholic convert, who I think just converted 6 years ago or something, this is pretty audacious. He isn't just disagreeing on policy, he is publicly lecturing the Vatican on what the scripture says. By Wednesday, even the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops had enough. They issued a statement that essentially reminded the vice president that the just war theory isn't a blank check for decimating a country. There's a particular kind of irony in a politician choosing to embrace Catholicism late in life, only to spend his week explaining to the Pope why St. Augustine's theories on peace are currently inconvenient for the White House. So this is just kind of an escalating week for JD Vance. Finally, on Tuesday, Vance ended up in Athens, Georgia for the Turning Point USA rally. This was supposed to be his home turf, a room full of youthful, new right supporters that he claims to lead. Instead, he ended up speaking to a mostly empty room. People barely showed up. He tried to defend the war, and he asked, how can you say God is never on the side of those who wield the sword? He ended up getting heckled by people in the audience, who I assume are conservative, and someone said, Jesus Christ does not support genocide.
Was God on the side of the Americans who liberated Holocaust camps and liberated those innocent people from, those who had survived the Holocaust? I certainly think the answer is yes, and I agree. Jesus Christ does not. I agree. Jesus Christ certainly does not support genocide. Whoever yelled that out from the dark, he certainly does not. I think that's pretty easy. I think that's a pretty easy principle.
Vance was visibly frustrated by this, and he ended up yelling back at the audience. By Tuesday night in Georgia, JD Vance looked less like a leader of a movement and more like a man shouting at a town hall meeting. Sorry. You've got a diplomat who can't close a deal, a kingmaker who can't win an election, and a Catholic who is arguing with the Pope. This week shows the limit of Vance's theory of disruption. When you pick a fight with everyone, from the Iranians to the Vaticans to your own base, eventually you run out of allies. Vance spent this week trying to prove that power is its own justification, but as the lights dimmed in the empty Georgia arena, he proved something else entirely. Even the most calculated narrative eventually hits the wall of reality. Yeah, so JD Vance had a bad week. He's been having a bad time generally, I feel like. He seems to always be the face of the administration's failures. I don't know if that's intentional, but I think it's going to probably hurt his political career. So that's all I got for you this week. If you enjoyed this video and you want to dive a little deeper into topics like this, please subscribe to the newsletter. There's a link in the description. And I'll see you at the next video.